Cents Per Mile, featuring Charles Gracie and Paul Gibson, with loads of recruiting and marketing experience and backed by the largest driver audience in the world. We deliver carriers the driver perspective, find solutions, and help make sense make sense.
Thank you for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your host, Paul Gibson. How's it going? So what are we talking about today, Charles?
It's a finale. It's insurance. It's all a nightmare.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. So, yeah, it's the last episode of season 5. That means this is our 125th episode. That's wild.
We're professionals.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. But yeah, so insurance. Yeah, and I think we're also going to talk about, just all the stuff going on and what that can mean for carriers, but then also just insurance in general, because, yeah, it's a nightmare. But before that, we've got to do what we normally do. So just so you know, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, basically anywhere you can get your podcasts. So if you could like, subscribe, or rate, and that helps us push out further, which helps us do cool stuff like what we're probably going to be doing towards the end of the month.
Yeah, and you can also go to centspermilepodcast.com. You can suggest a topic, to be a guest, to become a sponsor, or to send us somewhere.
Yep. Sponsor. Speaking of sponsors, who's our sponsor today, Charles?
It's MVT, Mesilla Valley Transportation, starting from loading to unloading and maintaining the highest standards in the terms of safety while in transit. They take nothing to chance. Check them out at m-v-t.com.
Yeah. I know one of our other sponsors, Taft's, is going to be at some of the places we're going, but do you think there's any chance we're going to see MVT at F3 or the Broker Carrier Summit?
You never know where you're going to see MVT.
That's true. Robert Pearson is a man of mystery, just like what's going to happen with everything. So we're going to get to 10-2 news. All right, so it's time for 10-2 news, where we take the most ridiculous, most interesting, most relevant, or basically whatever stories we want from the past couple weeks and, kind of just go over them. So normally I tend to disagree with Charles on a lot of things, still do, but there's a couple stories when you put them together, I've got a pretty interesting hot take. So there's the bill that calls for the end of CDL reciprocity, with Mexico and Canada, along with tighter requirements for non-citizen truck drivers. Then on top of that, you take the emergency rule about the non-domicile CDLs, coupled with probably, basically doubling down on the English proficiency. All of these things
are a great time.
Yeah, are not all a great time, but it's going to cause a lot of trouble for a lot of people. And we can get into that. But before we do, the one thing that I look at when I look at this in the long run, I mean, I do have a specific group of people at heart. I don't care who is in charge, who's doing what. This is going to work out great for truck drivers in the long run. And I'm here for that. We talked about it with that toxic culture.
Down with the brokers.
Right. We talked about the toxic culture and stuff like that a couple weeks ago, and we reminded everybody, if that market goes back to an employee market, people are going to remember. Same thing with your talk about retention.
Well, here's the thing, man. The barrier to entry in trucking has gone so low across all levels, but no one sees it more than the drivers who are out there every day seeing other drivers on the road that aren't living with the professionalism that the road dictates and expects from them. And so when you're talking about being out there and not only feeling unsafe around your fellow drivers, that's a problem. When you talk about being out there and worried about the general motoring public, which most professional drivers will worry about, they got families out there. That's a problem. So seeing things that are taking the industry back down that path to correct course, I'm here for it. And where it might feel like whiplash, it's going to, because we've gone far to the left when we should have made it right.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I would say it will cause some issues. Obviously the infrastructure is going to have to be built. It's going to affect trade relations. Also, the shipping process is going to get wild.
Rates are going to go up.
Rates are going to go up, but so are costs on a lot of things that come from those countries. But yeah, it's going to be a tough time for brokers. It's going to be a tough time for shippers, tough time for customers. Maybe, that can be their excuse for not having bathrooms readily available for drivers.
Well, it's just going to be easier to have bathrooms. Have people washing their feet in the sink.
Hey, but it's interesting that in the long run, regardless, it'll hurt some people will win, but ultimately it's nice to see something that potentially, whether you go with the 18% or the 15% or the 5% margins of who's going to get eliminated plus all that freight, ultimately the drivers pay is going to go up.
That's yet to be determined. That is yet to be determined. I think that there's a lot that has to happen here. But I mean, you talk about the bill calls for the end of CDL reciprocity with Mexico and Canada for tighter requirements for non-citizen truck drivers. That makes sense to me. I think you're going to see different layers of this. I think eventually there's going to be a tighter requirement for that to happen, but there's a need for those people to be able to cross over and operate. It's not like someone's going to grab the load at the border and take it. So, I mean, they're just going to have to be a little bit more stringent with who they're letting across and that the people meet our requirements here, or at least the base level. When you talk about Trump's transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, takes emergency action to protect America's roads and restrict non-domiciled CDLs who can't get behind having people that are certified and professional to our standards behind the wheel of 80,000 pounds.
Well, and I'm going to be honest though, with the way that a lot of things have gone, pattern recognition. I think that I'm interested by the pause in issuing them, how long that pause goes. I wouldn't be surprised if that's almost indefinite until there's some sort of need for it.
And then the English language proficiency.
That's reasonable.
Absolutely. Some of this, the fact that it's taken this whiplash to get it is a little discerning, because why did it have to go so far before someone turned around and did what was right, what made sense? Who can't get behind people being able to have basic English proficiency when operating a motor vehicle? You have to be able to communicate with the general motoring public, with the shippers and receivers on behalf of your company, with law enforcement. You have to be able to understand signs. It feels like whiplash, and I'm very empathetic to everyone that's like, hey, this is a lot real quick. And I worry that it's a lot and it's not all going to be done correctly. Otherwise we've created another mess, because it is a lot happening at once.
Oh, which will absolutely happen.
Well, government's involved. Listen, we might not agree as far as all politics, but one thing we can agree on is the most efforts that are going to be fruitful for everyone have the least impact from the government involved in them.
I mean, that's literally my stance on that's my entire political stance. I
mean, and we don't have to worry about the government because they're shut down.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. Well, in federal, I don't.
Makes for good news.
Yeah, the air traffic controller thing is kind of wild, though. You don't have planes taking off.
It's a good day to be a driver.
Right, but I'd also be curious, at what point does that affect the supply chain?
Well, I would have to tap someone that knows about the planes and all that stuff. Fuller would be a great person to bring in on that. But for me, my mind, and might be wrong, would be if there's less air traffic, because there's less air traffic controllers, that means more stuff is going to have to move on ground, and that means it's great for trains and trucks.
Yeah, well, we also have some cool places to fly in a couple weeks, but it is what it is.
You have cool places to fly. I'm driving.
Oh, that's true. I guess you don't have to fly to Chattanooga because you already live there. But of course, I also am pretty indifferent because I just got my real ID yesterday.
Well, congratulations. It's about time. It was out how many years?
5. But no, I think a lot of this I think is actually collectively, while I think it is messy, while I think it is haphazard, if that bill does go through, my hot take is the driver pay will go up.
And I want you to be right, brother. I just don't foresee it happening. I think maybe layers down the line it might happen, but I don't think it's going to be one of those things that we were directly able to attribute back to this year.
No, not this year. I don't even think it'll pass this year. And even if it does, it doesn't enact for 6 months till it's passed. So it wouldn't be something we'd fill till next year. But I mean, if you really do shut all that down, kind of like the way she was talking on the news the other day, you're gonna have to find a bunch of drivers to take those loads from the border to where they're going.
It'd be a great, business market to be looking right at the border and be playing hooky. Like, oh, you need that to come across? I got you. Sign this rate con. If I'm a broker, I'm setting up shop right at the border.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to obviously affect, cross-border carriers, but internally, I mean, there's a lot of people who could scoop up that freight.
Do you think if we keep going this way, though, that how like you go to strip malls and you got your same like businesses in the strip malls, you got your florists, you got your cleaners, like it'll be your insurance agent, your broker, your carrier, and just be like strip malls of transportation?
Well, it's almost like maybe you could figure out one way to fix all of it is to consolidate all of it, and kind of maybe what I always say and revisit the Motor Carrier Act of 1980.
Okay, and on that note, it's time to go behind the desk with Tenstreet.
Do you want to grow your fleet but get buried by paperwork, slow hiring processes, and outdated systems, all while struggling to comply with changing safety regulations? Enter Tenstreet, the all-in-one platform that simplifies driver lifecycle management by bringing marketing, recruiting, onboarding, safety, and retention together in one place. Tenstreet coordinates and streamlines all your operations. Post to dozens of job boards at once. Speed time to hire with pre-population and AI to get more full applications faster. And manage the entire post-hire process, from cutting costs with online onboarding to integrating all safety data into one dashboard, to improving retention through thoughtful engagement. Whether you have one truck or 1,000, our expert team is here to help. Sleep soundly knowing you can pass an audit, attract needed drivers, and achieve your business goals. Join the thousands of carriers using Tenstreet. Sign up for a demo today.
Mesilla Valley Transportation, founded by truck drivers for truck drivers. Why choose MVT? Well, it's simple.
I started off as a driver. Now I'm managing routes. With MVT, the sky's the limit.
Balance is key. State-of-the-art equipment, a strong focus on safety, and a family-driven company culture where respect and hard work are at the core. Mesilla Valley Transportation, where we care about you. Join our family today.
So now it's time to make sense. And how do you make sense of insurance? Well, I got an idea. Enter Merrill and Sage.
I don't know if Sage is a solution, but we'll try it.
I want to thank you for getting me out of my broker prison for this conjugal visit. I mean, is that the right word? That might not be the right word.
Obstacle happening. wrong show, Sage.
Handshake.
That was my OnlyFans show. What's going on, brother?
Wow. All right. So we're talking insurance.
Sorry, insurance. Gotcha.
So I'll start with you, Merrill, real quick. With insurance, at times people can feel like it's a bit of a nightmare. The rates keep going up. The claims keep going up. So that justifies the rates going up in the world that we live in. Like, what's some of the things that you're seeing that people aren't directly attributing to why the rates keep climbing? Because there's got to be a reason. It can't be that they're just out there gouging us, could it?
No, it's
You said that real quickly.
well, they are gouging. I mean, whether it's trucking, your home, your car, I don't care what it is, it's all gone up. But it also has to do with more than just semis having accidents. It's the gross population or the risk factor in each category, and then where they live. So hurricanes, weather, payouts, claims in certain regions cause those rates to go up. North Carolina is a great example of that. Some areas in Georgia, even in homes in Atlanta, there's a lot of companies that are not wanting to enter the Atlanta market for home insurance because of the cost or how they're building things. In the trucking space, it's all affected by that because of where they actually geographically live. If you operate out of North Carolina, it's cheaper to move your entire operation out to a little field in the middle of Wyoming, and your rates are going to be significantly cheaper than you are going to have it out of North Carolina, Florida, or some of these southern states, because what do we have down here? Hurricanes, bad weather, all those type of things play into the factor of what your insurance premium is going to be. And added factors are your drivers, moving violations, DOT inspections. All that plays into the factor of what your insurance premium is going to look like as they come time for renewal.
And Sage, when we're talking about insurance, you can't have this conversation without talking about, the non-domiciled CDLs, the headlines, all these other things that have kind of given trucking its black eye. What do you think are some of the things that we can look forward to maybe helping the insurance situation now that some of these crackdowns and enforcements are actually going through?
I think insurance goes by the law of large numbers, right? So when you have large numbers in regards to that, that's kind of how they also do their calculations. So, I mean, obviously, it's like Merrill said, it's accidents. It's also thefts and cargo thefts and situations like that also affect the insurance pricing, which might not affect you. And I get this a lot with drivers. He's like, well, I'm a very good driver. Why are they charging me this much money? And it's a lot of times it's not based on how good you are. It's based on how bad
everyone else
area.
I've been to Kansas City. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of it's going to have to do, but the issue is I think Progressive, one of the main ones, have said that rates are going to continue to go up, for the next 3 years and stuff, because it's not just being affected by that. Also, when they go to repair your vehicle or do things like that, if there's high costs on tariffs, bringing in parts, if the price of the shops go up and stuff like that to repair that vehicle, that also eventually raises the rates also. So it's a lot of other factors.
So what you're telling me is if all this does go through, like what we were talking about in the news, they're said to make bank because it's going to cost more for manufacturing parts. Plus, if it raises the price of everything and there's more inflation, they're going to say at least that there's more fraud, and theft. So what you're telling me is, regardless of all this, insurance is still going to come out on top like they always do.
Insurance is out to make they're a business. They want to make money also, and in that business, they're protecting you for catastrophic type situation, right? But it's one of those things that you're going to want to. It's not going to go down unless, like Merrill said, you find a better location that you have a legitimate address. Be careful with that also. But it's looking at that aspect that insurance is going to continue to go up. So have that mindset. One, shop around, keep your rates, keep your record good, keep your credit good. Credit's a big factor on top with that address. But just know that there's a possibility that that's going to continue to go up for a period of time.
I just think if they did something where hey, you have a nose ring, you pay a higher premium than, the guy without a nose ring.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. But I've been asking, maybe I should start getting facial recognition before I start, binding people. That might do it. That might do it. Yeah.
What about higher premiums for people who have trucks too big for them to see over the steering wheel?
Ooh, and tattooed?
Yeah, it probably requires a booster seat.
But not the hood.
I can see over the hood.
That 360 camera saves your life all the time.
It saves everyone's life behind that thing.
Right, because you're driving it.
Like that high schooler walking in front of my truck. You better be glad there's cameras in the front of it.
But I was a short high schooler, so that could be bad for me, bro.
It's okay. Mine's high enough where it'll go over you. Just give you a haircut.
You're going to get the bumper beeper's going to go off. There's something in front of there. Hit the brakes.
Oh, wait. Those things are supposed to work? No. In all seriousness, though, how do you decode this, though? If I'm a carrier and I'm looking at all these rising costs, what's some of the things I can do, Merrill, that might help me be at least more competitive when I'm shopping around for insurance to make sure, hey, it's going to go up, but I can mitigate how much it goes up?
Driver quality of your driver. I just got off the phone before this call. He's an owner op. 4 violations. He had great rates until it comes time for renewal, and those renewals shot him up into another $40,000 for the year. I mean, you can't control if you're not following the laws, being safe, being proactive, and not trying to be reactive. And when you're small carriers, you got to be paying attention to your driver's habits, making sure they're not causing major issues. One accident can cost you lots of money when it comes time to renewal.
During the accident and in insurance.
Yes, because they're paying out that loss. If it's a $500,000 loss, $200,000.
They want that money back when they cut one of those checks.
You're going to see it. They're going to get it from you for now and in the future for sure. But just being proactive, the small fleets, paying attention to your drivers, what they're doing, if they're having tickets, they're getting too many tickets. You got to have that threshold to where I can't keep this driver because this driver's costing me more money than I'm going to make, or it's going to cost me higher premiums next year for insurance.
You come on the recruiting side as well and dabble in that. What's one of the reasons insurance cares? Like, I can't fathom why they care about a driver who has had certain amount of jobs in a certain period of time.
I don't know if they look at it from that perspective when it comes to the owner ops. They do look at how long you've been in the industry. If you just picked up your truck, you're going to be a higher risk, and depending on how many years of experience.
But there's some insurance companies that are out there like, hey, if they tell carriers, if you've had this many jobs in this many years, then hey, your insurance is going to go up. Why does that matter to them?
I think that's a myth.
I don't think it's that matter. I think it's a consistency of staying in the industry. Like they're going to want to see that you were if you were a truck driver and then you went to be a warehouse worker and then you went back to truck driving, that gap is an issue for insurance company.
So you mean when a carrier says our insurance company?
Oh my God. What?
I think that's a carrier loophole.
Yeah, a insurance agent dictates this. It's not true.
Because it could be like you talk about gaps, like there will be drivers who have had like 7 driving jobs and they're like, oh no more than 3 jobs in a year, even if they're all driving jobs. As a matter of fact, most of them won't even look at them if they're not driving jobs.
I don't think that's an insurance related issue. I think there's a cost of hire and turnover issue.
Safety directors, I'm talking to you. Explain yourselves.
Yeah, I've never had an insurance company ask that. They want to know that you've been driving and maybe a consistency of 2 years. If you're driving, and stayed that.
That makes sense. But a lot of carriers defer and like, oh, insurance won't take them. And I'm like, well, since when did insurance? And you started hearing that over the last couple of years. And I'm like, wait a minute. Since when does insurance give a rat's ass about how many jobs a driver had? They care that they had driving jobs.
Yeah, I've never had any of my markets ask for that.
All right. We're 0 for 2 for that excuse now, safety directors out there, hiring managers out there.
And Merrill, maybe you can kind of talk about it because you do also some retention stuff as well for drivers. But like, it makes sense from a retention standpoint, right? But because if you stay somewhere, if you're constantly hopping jobs, you're probably going to keep hopping. But is there anything beneficial from the retention side other than them staying, or is this strictly just some safety director stuff?
I think it's number of jobs. It indicates the person's personality of giving a company a shot. If they stay there 30, 60, 90 days, or if they have 10 jobs in a year, they didn't give anybody a shot. It's like relationships. You're just bouncing from one relationship to another. And in the insurance world, I don't think that's the correlates at all. I think it's more of a safety director, or, hey, what does it cost me to bring this driver in? And this one driver's bounced between 10 jobs. Well, there's a cost associated with each company. And I think that's their way of looking at, I don't want this driver because he's not going to stay with us.
That makes sense. That checks out. That makes sense to me. But drivers have been taking their shots too. How many carriers bring a driver in with false promises and then the driver gets there and they're supposed to well, I guess I got to stay 90 days and be broke because the recruiter lied to me.
Well, it is a two-way street.
Yeah, that street goes both ways. And I think trust is the solution there. There has to be trust and there has to be transparency and there has to be accountability and all of those things that end in Y. But when we get back to the insurance side, it's nice to know that doesn't weigh against that, because we hear that line all the time and it just never made sense. And now Paul and I are probably going to have a spoof episode on just this.
Well, actually, I thought about it.
That should be the next episode for the next season, the very first one. I think it'll be a heated topic.
It does make sense though, because Merrill hit it on the head. You have that kind of turnover. It does cost more money and you need to save that money, because you're going to have to pay way too much money in insurance anyway.
Yeah, you're going to be spending a lot in insurance regardless. And what's right around the corner. So insurance renewals are right around the corner. And with insurance renewals right around the corner in a tight margin like this, I guess one number we're going to be paying attention to is the bloodbath that comes from that. Because we know plate renewals, insurance renewals, all the renewals are right around the corner. We're going into Q4. Well, we're in Q4. It's one of those times where it's time to break out that checkbook. It's time to break open that piggy bank. And these carriers are going to be losing money galore. And with premiums going up and everything else going up, inflation's not going anywhere. And the market doesn't seem to be sparking any sense of life. You know, it's one of those things that I'd imagine that we're going to continue to see some tombstones put up for some more carriers as we go through fourth quarter and early first quarter.
You're going to see that happen for the 1-2 truck outfits a lot more. I can tell you what I've been working with this week. There's a lot of guys that are like, I'm just going to have to sell my truck. I can't afford this. That's more than I make if I have to pay $100,000 a year. By the time I do fuel, tires, maintenance, and insurance, he said he's going to sell his truck.
I still think we're going to see at least one decent name between now and end of first quarter. I think we're going to see one of those hallmark names in trucking just go.
I can appreciate that. Like forever, you've been quite the optimist, Charles, and saying like, oh, but next quarter is going to be better. And you're finally on my boat where you're like, it's been next quarter for 3 years.
No, I can read the tea leaves, man. And the fact of the matter is there's no light switch for this. I mean, this is a dumpster fire on wheels. Someone threw a match and now it's on fire. It's rolling down the hill. It's going. It's going to take time to course correct. We're seeing a lot of the signs of a course correction on the driver barrier, the entry side. And obviously it's going to be maintaining that to see the rates and stuff go up. But I think as an industry, we're competing with rails. We're competing with the market. We're competing with the fact that consumers aren't spending as much right now because of rising costs. Like there's a lot of things we're competing with right now. On the scale of importance, kind of trucking's like down a couple notches when you look at the whole world's on fire. No, I appreciate you guys sharing the insurance wisdom, and really quickly from each of you on a scale of 1 to 10 of how enthusiastic carriers should be about their renewal. Sage.
Excited as in discounted. Which way are we going? 1 is bad.
10 being the absolute worst, 1 being the best case scenario.
I'm thinking somewhere around a 7 or 8 being bad, being a bad.
And Merrill, 10 being the worst case, 1 being the best case. Where are we at on this scale?
Well, let's put it this way. Why was 6 scared of 7? Because 7, 8, 9.
That makes sense.
And this on a higher note, I got a 15-year-old that's getting a permit. How bad am I screwed?
Oh God, get him off your license, get him off your insurance, get his own.
Are you guys worried with having to have the hard talk with people with the way that people have recently handled insurance? Are you guys okay?
I'm actually pretty good. I talk to my guys, and if you guys, if they want to call me, I make sure they understand everything, any discount they can get, technology, ELDs, make sure they understand all that. So my guys usually aren't.
Now you guys have to test and get licensed for this, correct?
Oh yeah.
Do they give you guys like a safe word when it gets too rough?
Yeah, mine is cents per mile. I don't know if that was I don't know what that was. maybe that was not my safe word. I'm thinking that was the opposite word. Either way.
Yeah, you're not safe here.
The safe word is have a blessed day.
Also, Sage, I wanted to ask you real quick with everything going on, with all the stuff we talked about in the news, because you also do brokerage. What do you predict that all of that looks like for you if everything goes the way it looks like it's going?
So now remember, I'm in jail for brokering. So basically, I'm not really, but when things like this happen, it actually gets fairly busy because customers are going to reach out and say, hey, how can we go back to saving money? What can I do? And so I don't, when the market gets tighter, brokers actually usually make more money, to be honest, because a lot of times it's hard to find a truck. And if I can find a truck and somebody else can't, then they pay me a little bit more for that. But it's still my job to try to do whatever I can to keep costs down for shipper. And still be able to provide a service to the carrier if needed. So I think if anybody wants to look at investment, start investing in rail if that does happen, because there's going to be a lot of rail moves.
Because we're all getting railed.
We're all getting railed. So, but it's going to be a lot of, like you said, there will be cost adjustments. I'm on your side on this, Paul. Screw Charles. But basically, I do believe that that's going to be something where brokers are going to have to step up, find alternatives to moving freight, either cross-docking, depending on what, things like that, rail. But they'll have to work a little harder for their money to try to work with shippers to keep those costs down.
And Merle, final question for you. This is our season 5 finale. Who's your favorite host on the show?
Well, Josh was, but he's gone. So I would have said Paul, but it's October and he didn't change his hair color. So I'm going with Charles.
My vote for Paul, so we're at even here.
No, you're a broker and an insurance person. If anything, you got to pay to vote.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, you gotta give back a little when you take like that. We're like Robin Hood over here. But we are about out of time. It was good to talk to you guys. It's not good to look to the future. Just live in the moment, right?
Well, like all good things, this has to come to an end. I'm your host, Charles Gracie. Thank you for tuning in to Sons Per Mile.
And I'm Paul Gibson. See you next time.